Raise the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The school board will convene to open session tonight to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, C. To consider bus maintenance, high school assistant varsity baseball coach, and personnel. We didn't have any guests signed to speak tonight, so we'll move to the consent agenda. Would someone like to move on the consent agenda?
And one question on the donations from the Northern Door Rotary Club. Is this the woman that does the outdoor sessions, the students? Okay. And she's an employee of the Bridges?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This is a camera. Northern Door Rotary Club gave $5,000 for the People Lab to cover the outdoor educational programs presented by the Bridges Sanctuary, and $1,300 in football equipment from Michael Laxinen to the high school football team. We will move then to reports and begin with Ms. Marga. People Services.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit more about People Services, specifically special education, and how we've started to dip our toes a little bit into artificial intelligence. So I have this presentation for you. And thanks again for having me. Core anchors in special education for the team that I work with in a minute that I'll introduce you to in the presentation is we fundamentally believe that every student can learn and fundamentally believe that they want to learn. We also believe that every student wants to be good. Every student wants to make great choices for themselves. We believe that all students deserve to feel a sense of belonging in any learning environment that they're in. And most importantly, that every student deserves to be educated with same-aged peers in general education as much as possible. They're the core beliefs that help drive the special education team in delivering the programming that we do every day for the students of Sevastopol. Overview of the presentation, I want to introduce you quickly to the special education staff and the related services staff that do the work to work with our kids with IEPs and 504 plans. I also want to do a brief explanation of the common disability areas that exist here in Sevastopol. Talk a little bit about who we serve and the data along 3 years of the numbers of students that we serve. Dip a little bit into academic data, really looking at the forward exam and the dynamic learning maps in regards to state averages and where our students with disabilities come into it. Look at a little bit of data there. Briefly go over some interventions, supports, and approaches, and then finally want to end the presentation about how AI can help students, it can help teachers deliver powerful instruction in less time. So we have more time to do these interventions through artificial intelligence. And I want to do a quick demonstration, really just to show you how easy it is for our teachers to be able to do that. So next, this is our special education staff. Many of you know these folks already, but I have to tell you what an honor and a privilege it is to work with these teachers. They're dedicated, they're persistent, and they blow me away every day with the connections that they make with kids, the success of their IEP goals, and also the communication and the collaboration that they do have with our families, which is key to a healthy partnership. Kim Lama is the teacher for our early childhood, the second grade. That's kiddos as young as 3 years old up to second grade. Callie Asher works the bulk of the elementary school with our 3 to 5, third grade to fifth grade. We have 2 special education teachers in the middle school that support 6th to 8th grade students. That's Nick DeYoung and Jen Dancer. Again, 2 teachers that support the high school, Chris Forvet and Stephen Umeno. Liz Fahey supports our life skills classroom, and our related services are led by Kelly Orem Rankin, who does occupational therapy, Danielle Hansen, who does speech and language, Holly Ray, who does physical therapy, and Steve Warner, who is our school psychologist. That is the special education team that works with our students with diverse needs. Here are the most common disability areas where our students fall under. I want to take a moment to really talk about what cross-categorical means. Cross-categorical means that every one of the teachers that I mentioned on their caseloads have students with different disabilities. Those different disabilities require different interventions, different curriculum, and different services for our related services. So in the past, just for reference, special education teachers had the option to specialize in one area. Okay? That's no longer the case. Every special education teacher is a cross-categorical, which means they support every student in all these disability-related areas that I'm about to go over briefly. I will not read this to you verbatim, okay? We have students with specific learning disabilities. These are psychological processes where students have a hard time understanding language spoken or written, which dramatically affects their ability to read, write, and do mathematical calculations. Talk about kids now too who have dyslexia. This also falls under students who have dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. So it's the spectrum there. So they would be students who are specified with a specific learning disability. Other health impairments really refers to a child's ability to stay alert, stay energetic, stay focused, stay engaged in the classroom. Okay? We have a lot of students who are qualified under the OHI, we call, or other health impairments. It could be a medical condition that they have as well. Students with an emotional and behavior disability, they have significant challenges in being able to regulate their body, okay? Sensory regulation and also behavior, being able to stay in the classroom and have their body regulated to be able to learn. 2 other areas I'll just mention briefly. We have significant developmental delays. They're little ones, right? They're kiddos from 3 to 9 years old, right? We don't quite know exactly what it is that they need specific help with because they're still young, they're still developing. So those students are qualified under a significant developmental delay. They have delays in their cognition, they have delays in their motor, they have delays in their communication. They have a little bit going on, maybe all over the place, so they need time to figure out, they need the right interventions in place to see exactly where the teachers can pinpoint what they need. And then lastly, I'll mention here our intellectual disability. These are significant limitations in cognition. These are our students who have problems, learning in general with cognition, but also with their adaptive skills, their daily skills, their life skills, the skills that they need every day to be successful. We also, I neglected to put up in here, but there's also educational autism. We don't diagnose autism, right? But we diagnose characteristics of autism within the school setting. So they're primarily the majority of the disability areas that our teachers do serve. Related services, we have speech and language therapy and we have occupational therapy. Everything from articulation to expressive and receptive language. Occupational therapy comes in very, very handy. These are kids with sensory, cognitive challenges. They help with helping, recovering, and maintaining skills to be able to be in the school building. A lot of social thinking, lots of self-regulation our occupational therapist does. A lot with the fine motor, the gross motor, for the kids to be able to be functional in the classroom. Physical therapy and our school psychologist. Holly Ray is our physical therapist. She comes in twice a week. How are kids safe in the school? They have to make sure that they're safe moving around the schools in all aspects. That definitely does a lot of work in Phi-Ed too, working with the Phi-Ed teachers and the kids in physical education class as well. And our school psychologist is here roughly about 20 days a year. Steve Warner has been really, really instrumental in help delivering testing. He's done a lot with our behavioral intervention plans, a lot with coaching our teachers, and then being a really excellent liaison between the teachers and the parents of our most difficult, not difficult kids, but cases that are a little bit more complicated. He brings his expertise, and we really learn from him every time that he is here as well. How many students do we serve? This is over the past 3 years. Our student population with students with IEPs or 504 plans fluctuates between 13% of our population up to 15%. So over the past couple of years, we don't have a lot of students, we're not increasing the number of students with plans. The difference is right now is the students who are eligible, who do meet criteria for specialized services, their needs are more complex. They have more, they need more. So it's not, Sevastopol is not qualifying more students. You know why? Because we do an excellent job with our RTI system. The interventions that the general education teachers put in place are effective. So if a student gets to a point where an IEP is appropriate, right, they've gone through a very, very comprehensive program to make sure that they've met criteria to be able to have those services that they need. So again, between 13 and 15%. You might want to ask the question, then why does special education become more expensive every year too? It's because the complexity sometimes of our student needs, they're more expensive. They need more. We've seen a lot of that. There's been a lot of growth in our student mental health needs. Okay? A lot of those students are qualifying sometimes under that OHI category, right? So there's more needs in the community. I mean, in our school, we address those. Sometimes that means there's rising costs.
What is the final for?
It is a plan as well. It's not a special education plan. It's a plan for a student who has got different needs that don't require special education, so they don't need specially designed instruction, but they need teacher accommodation to be successful. A lot of times, too, occupational therapy falls under a 504 plan, and that's how students can get occupational therapy. Yeah.
So
It's a civil rights plan.
So how does the 15% for us compare with the state average or county average? Is 15% kind of normal throughout the state, or is that high, low, medium, or what?
I don't know. I don't have that data in front of me. I would say since I've been here, it's been consistently
For us.
for us. Yes, I don't know how it compares to other school districts. I
Pretty
can find out that.
consistent
Is it?
around the state. Some
Thanks.
districts higher, some lower, but
Yeah.
it's
So
not
around
unusual.
15%?
Yeah,
Are
please.
some of the costs also growing because our program is changing, evolving, so they know more now, and so there's more things to do, or that doesn't really
I'm
factor
going to
in?
get into that a little bit. Yeah, thank you, because you're going to lead into the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So not only, the pupil services, special education, responsible for academic goals, right? Getting to proficiency, meeting IEP goals. There's a host of other programming that needs to happen for some of our kids. And I've got 3 slides of the additional things that special education teachers, think about, implement. It depends on a student's disability-related need. In an IEP meeting, if it's decided that's a disability-related need, then there needs to be specific programming that addresses that. So it's the academics that we do. It's the research-based curriculum. It's the research-based interventions. It's the approaches that we have. The next couple of slides, I'll just briefly show you. There's some other programmings and topics that our teachers need to make sure that we are delivering to students to become a well-rounded and lifelong learner. So let's dive into the data a little bit, okay? All right. Over on this side is the state, okay? Over on this side is Sevastopol. We have a small cell size, so you're going to see not every disability is over here. We don't have students with every disability over here, but just to explain differently, again, I want to say this is forward data from last year, okay? If I come over here, very quickly, the blue here is advanced, okay? here is meeting the expectations. That's yellow. Yellow is approaching our expectations, and orange is developing. When I look at this right away, I don't want to see developing. I don't like seeing orange, right? Because we're not yet now approaching mastery to any standards. So if I take a look over here, and I look first at students with a learning disability, that specific learning disability that I told you, the state average here, 58% of students with learning disabilities are developing. They're not close yet to meeting those standards. I come over here to Sevastopol for a learning disability, and I see that we have 10% of our students who have not yet met approaching. It's a big difference. It's something to be proud of, right? Do I like seeing orange? Absolutely no. Do we still have a way to go? Absolutely. And when you look at that too, just to point out, we've got some work to do with our students who are approaching standards. We want our students down here where we're meeting standards. Okay? So through those specially designed instruction that we give them, through the alternate therapies, through the different interventions, we all kind of come together to make sure that we follow this data, that I want to see more students in purple. So quickly going over to other health impairments, this is one that's grown over the years. Okay? State average for math, 54% of our students in the state of Wisconsin are not, they're in the developing range. They're not close to meeting our standards. I come over to Sevastopol, 23.5% of our students are not there yet.
What's an example of an OHI?
I would say the easiest one might be a student with attention deficit disorder. Okay, so attention, all right? But we bring in a lot of some of those mental health diagnoses as well. And then we have students that have got other physical health problems as well. So, yep, they have to, yep, so that's other health impairments. So something is in their way to have the strength and vitality to get through a school day. Okay. I'd also like to point out our speech and language right here. Speech and language, you'll see for the state, 17.9% of students aren't there yet. Sevastopol does incredibly well. You'll notice that all of our students are approaching, most of our students are meeting, and some are achieving as well. So I just think that there is absolute room to grow with data. I appreciate looking at the data. We haven't dove into special education data. It's now part of the school-wide plan, and we continue to do this to see the trends, to see what we can do better as a district to make sure kids' needs get to the purple. Okay? Next is going to be ELA. ELA is a lot the same here. I'll go over the same ones quickly. If I were to do learning disability, 57.2. And you'll hear here we have no orange. So for ELA, we've made some significant progress. Do we still have a lot of approaching? Yes, that's the opportunity. Okay? We need to get to meeting. We need to remind you these are the students with the most complex needs too. Right? But I like to see that. That made me really happy for the students. OHI is here again, 51.7. And we're up here at 17.6. Okay, so we still have some room to go. We are beating the state average in these areas.
Question.
Yeah,
You
please.
said this is new data, but like over time, right? So the percentages in our school,
Yep.
you can actually put that to students' names
I can.
and everything.
Oh, I
And
can.
then-
Yep.
Then you can also track them through our school. So like,
Totally can.
for instance, if an individual is was in approaching early on and then stays in approaching all the way through the school year and
Flag.
doesn't, that would be a flag right
That's a
there. So
flag.
that, this data will allow you
Yeah.
to dig into that.
We just started as an admin team too, is really diving into how to access WISE Dash and the data. I played in it a little bit, you know, there's a lot of room that we have as a district to be able to truly understand it and take advantage of the information that gives us. But on my site, I can hover over and I can see exactly who those kids are.
That is just data, but it's more guide than it can
But it's data, but it's also information to get teachers together, parents together, general ed, special ed, and say, hey, look at where we're at. What's the plan now? What are the IEP goals now that need to be specifically met in order for these children to continue to grow? So, and then speech and language here again, just a 18.7 is the state average in developing the skills. Sevastopol doesn't, again, have any students with speech and language. Okay? Again, really, really proud of the 77.8. Really, really proud of the wraparound approach through speech and language and general education as well. I will bring more data in the future as I become more savvy. So how do they do it? Right? Here's all the host of programs that the special education team do. There's differentiation, and again, this is in addition to evidence-based curriculum, evidence-based interventions, and strategies here. We differentiate instruction, we embed assistive technology, we do small group, we do one-on-one, we do inclusion support. Inclusion supports goes back to one of the core things that I said, that every student deserves to be in the classroom with their same age peers. That's inclusion support. If we have a student who can be in the classroom and learn with their peers, and their instruction is differentiated, and they're supported by a special education associate or teacher in there, that's maximum. That's the maximum benefit. They're with their peers, that sense of belonging. That's what we strive for. But there's some cases where we can't do that yet. The skills aren't there yet. And that's the progression of one-to-one setting, small group to large group. So that is the path that our students are on. Do explicit instruction, multi-sensory teaching, accommodate the classroom, a lot of behavioral supports. A lot of our students have behavioral intervention plans with known specific strategies that need to be implemented for them to be successful in the classroom. Even for them to be successful to maintain the entire school day. Crisis management happens. This is a school, things happen, right? But the team reacts and takes care of the students and the family. Collaboration, positive reinforcement, all of this. Social skills training is huge. And then the counseling. Vocational training, life skills training, executive functioning training. These are all in addition to the academic instruction that is delivered every day. Going back again, across categorical special education teacher needs to have an idea of all of these different types of interventions and supports and curriculum, because they have a caseload with a variety of student needs. This is my last one. This mostly is focused on our related services with speech and language and also with occupational therapy. So this focuses on those pieces. What's the success criteria? This is what we do. It's individualized support. Okay? We tailor IEPs. They are specific. They are detailed. They are backed with data. We have specific goals for students to be able to reach proficiency. We accommodate. We have a coordinated approach. Our teachers work with general education. We work with parents. We work with outside service providers. We've got our related services personnel on board as well. It truly is a collaborative approach to bring out the best in our kids. The work's complex. It's ongoing. It changes daily. This is public education, it always does. We are proactive and we are reactive. So the question is, well, how do you do all of that in a 7.5-hour school day? That's where I'd like to introduce a little bit of what AI has done for us. AI, we're beginning our journey. We started this year with AI. We have a lot to learn on how to utilize it professionally, right? How to use it with integrity. How to use it where we're vetting what we get from AI to make sure that it aligns with the state standards. And it's been a journey. So I'd like to do a live demonstration of AI to show you how easy it is. There's 2 tools in particular that we use. One is Magic School, and Magic School is for educators. Okay? And then there's Brisk, which is a application, a Chrome extension in Chrome is called BRIS. So I'd like to demonstrate those really quickly for you, okay? All right. So this here will be,
So the Magic School AI came from a company
yeah,
with an educational
specifically
background?
for education specific, yes. So you'll notice that ChatGPT doesn't come up, some of the things, our teachers use that, okay? Oops. Oh, is this big enough? I'll make this big, sorry guys. So you can see. Okay, so this is Magic School, okay? And you'll see as I scroll pretty slowly down all of the features that are here. I'm going to highlight two for you tonight. The ones that I'm going to highlight is academic content and DOK. DOK stands for depth of knowledge questions for kids. So you can see if you go all through here, there's a variety of ways that educators can find instruction, find work, right? Find engaging activities for kids. What I really like about this too, when I go to academic content, which is right here, all right? You can put in any, so a lot of times in the inclusion classroom, we have students, I'll set a context for you, we have students with different reading levels, okay? We have one textbook, okay? So if I am in a 9th grade or 10th grade biology class, okay, and we're reading about cell division from a textbook, that's not accessible for every one of our students that are there. So students who can't engage, right, we're doing a disservice to them. Okay, so we can't get variety of different textbooks. We have this as an option, and it's an option that's quick. So just for the sake of, I'm going to pretend I'm in a biology class. Okay, it's a 10th grade class. Okay, but I've got learners. Okay, at maybe an 8th grade reading level. Okay. What I want to do here is I want to make a textbook page that's really quick for the students. All right, so I'm going to put in textbook. Where are my classes? Okay, and I want it to be one page. And I want it to be the process of cell division. Okay, teachers can get much more complex than this. I am not, because I am not a biology teacher. Okay, so I'm going to generate, and this is how quick it comes up. It's insane. Okay? You can take this a variety of ways, right? This can be side by side with the 9th grade or 10th grade textbook. Okay? It's accessible, kids can understand it. I can take this and I can do one more thing with it too. When I think about, and I can show you how we can use BRIS. I can change this for every reading level. You saw up there that it goes anywhere from kindergarten to graduate, right? I can change it. I can copy paste this one into a Word document or a Google Doc, go back and say, oh my gosh, I need a 5th grade version of this, okay? I can have those ready instantly for kids to be able to be in an inclusion classroom with their same age peers and have the same instruction delivered in a reading level that works, that allows them to be an active participant in the classroom, as opposed to sitting around and not having a clue what's going on, right? What a disservice.
So you just click one of those things that takes.
Click one of those things.
So hit chromosome structure.
Oh, no, I don't hit those. Right, well, no, this is just it. I would copy paste this. You could take this. Jerry, I hear what you're saying. If some of those vocabulary words, there's actually another one in here, vocabulary builder, where I can put all of those in there.
This is for the teacher.
This is for the student.
Okay.
This is for the student. So it's a 10th grade biology book that the student can't read.
Okay.
This is another textbook page that allows them the material that they can read at their level. One of the other things that teachers do with this is, okay, bear with me guys, this all worked when I did it. I do this all the time too, but of course I'm live on TV and in front of you guys, so I'm going to copy this, okay? I'm going to open up a Google Doc, and I want to show you quickly how Brisk works. Okay, here's my Brisk. This little icon down at the bottom is that extension that I was talking about. You add that on and this is Brisk. This is another AI tool. So I'm going to copy my assignment in here. Okay, so it's just simply copy pasting in here. So now I see, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that I've got 2 Spanish-speaking students in here, okay? Because we don't have a biology book in Spanish, right? We've got newcomers that come to our school district, right? That aren't reading at a 10th grade English level, right? So now I've just modified it to a 7th grade reading level, and I can instantly translate it. So I just go here to my Brisk, I change the level, I want to put it in Spanish, and it's instant. Give it a sec. Instant. When I was a special education teacher, this would have taken hours to put together for every different subject area as a high school special education teacher, where I was in inclusion classes for history, English, math, science.
If you were proficient in Spanish.
All I'm saying, like this
But if you're not,
you're not.
how do you get it done?
Absolutely. How do you, and the goal is to think about the students before your lesson, who's in your class, but now utilizing different ways to differentiate. This can be a game changer for some of our teachers, okay? Because now, when I'm giving out a biology assignment on cell division, I'm also giving it to a student. I'm giving the student the work who might not be at the same level as the person sitting next to them, but they're seen, they're understood, and there's that sense of belonging that I go back to. Okay? We don't say, oh, wait, Melissa, I'll get yours in a second. Right? So that's the goal. The goal is to be able to have tools in place and our staff versed on how you can differentiate instruction with relative ease, making sure that it's aligned to the standards, right? That's a big piece that I want to say again. You don't just copy paste this, print it out and say, here you go, right? You vet it, you make sure that this is exactly, what the learning target is that the teacher is trying to do. But this is where we've started. There's been some teachers, right, that are absolutely like, this is okay, this is good, I love it, I'm embracing it, but we've got journeys. Things that are new aren't always easy, right? So as we go into the school-wide plan for next year, this is definitely a piece that we want to keep building on. We want to build staff's capacity to do this professionally, right? And to also give them a lot of tools. There's another one that I'm playing with right now that creates podcasts. You put in a topic, it creates a podcast. Imagine that for students who are auditory learners, right? I can put in a podcast and they pull from all different academic articles and they can listen to self-division too. So there's a lot of potential here. We're pretty excited about it. And again, it goes back to start right here, sorry, this one. Goes back to those anchors. These anchors aren't unique to special education. This is what educators do. This is what we hope to strive for. All kids can learn. All kids want to learn. All kids want to be active members of the classroom. All kids deserve that sense of belonging. And through AI and other interventions and strategies and curriculum that we have in place, our students with the most diverse needs can be included, right? It's just a process, and we're all learning that together. I'm excited to be a part of it. This is all I have for you tonight, but if you ever have any questions about special education, I'd love to hear from you. Please come in, look at the work that our teachers do. It's extraordinary. Okay, they blow me away every day, and it's an honor to work with them. So thank you for your time. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer.
Diagnosis of the problem. Who gets involved in the diagnosis of a special education need? How do you diagnose that?
Right. So it depends on what area that it is. So I'll just say if
Let's
it's
say it's a
learning disability. Oh, go
a
ahead.
kindergarten, I mean a 4K for a child coming into school. I mean, then you can't identify it yet. I don't know. I mean, is this an ongoing
Who's involved? I would say who's involved is whatever the needs are. So if it's a student that's that young, and typically, if it's a student that's young, the people that are involved are the needs that have been expressed by the family and the teachers that they see. So if it's speech and language, then the speech and language person is involved. If there's cognitive stuff, then the special education teacher gets involved. Whatever the need is, we bring those people to the table to have the conversation. And of course, there's testing that have to go along. And then there's criteria that the state has put in place where they have to meet criteria in order to receive services. Yep.
So when you come to graduation, then what?
When I come to graduation, then.
Because
Yeah.
I sit on the board for Sunshine House. But there's no real connection between Sunshine House and the educational world. There's no referral system, is there?
For Sunshine House?
After graduation.
It depends on the student. So not all of our students can go to Sunshine House. Students,
Because we usually take care of what we call the lowest levels.
right, so students with intellectual disabilities, right? So a
Or
lot of.
physical disabilities or
Yeah.
other, all sorts of disabilities.
Mhm.
But so a student, I'm just saying, so a student has gone through 12 years of special education, and now they're at the end. Who picks up the ball then? What's the bridge from here into society, or to take them we just don't dump them, right?
No, we have transition plans, right? So there's transition plans where we transition students typically to the next step. One of those steps could be the Sunshine House, right?
Or what are the other options?
Well, it depends on the student. So there's a lot of students with IEPs that end up going to technical college, right? Or, like our students, we are preparing our students through the IEP process to what their goals are after high school. So that's a part of the process, right? So they get their diploma, and we've hopefully, right, with the best intention, have prepared them through their transition plan. Every student has to have a transition plan by age 14. So we're talking about the transition of these students at age 14. And those transition plans also help create the IEP for what they want to do after college, after high school.
Is there an additional resource, as I think maybe part of the question is, as a family is starting to get ready for that transition plan, how do they become aware of the other community? Because the school requirements will come to an end, right? That's at a certain age. So does that transition plan help that?
I understand. So if it was a student who was transitioning potentially to somewhere like the Sunshine House, before that they would leave Sevastopol, Sunshine House would come to IEP meetings and we would transfer that information. So that has happened when we have been here as well. As far as a student with special education who plans on going to NWTC, we have a transition and a graduation IEP where we share that information with the family. We write up a summary of performance. That summary of performance is a document that they take to the accommodations office at NWTC that lists where their strengths are, what their needs are, and what accommodations would be beneficial at NWTC or a technical college. Students also take their IEPs, and whatever college that they would go to, there's an accommodation office for them to be able to do that. But I feel like I'm not answering your question.
No, because I'm going to put my NWTC board hat on, okay?
Okay,
But just one.
a couple minutes yet.
Okay. Because there seems to be a breakdown between tech school and all these programs. with the high schools or the school systems and even the TC, it doesn't seem to be an easy road where parents and everybody recognize this is where we got to go.
I mean, I'm definitely interested in talking about what that is, but Sevastopol meets its legal obligations and what we need to do.
Yeah, I would add, a related thing which isn't
Yeah.
in the school, but let's just say it like it is, right? This is related to me is when kids transition to college, right? What is that feedback loop, and have we actually successfully set them up for college? Or is there an education gap? And we have seen where kids jump into a program and there's an education gap. So then there's a lot of reasons for what fixes that. But we really don't have a hard requirement in public schools to put resources to bridge that.
Yeah, I'm not blaming
And this
you.
is exactly,
I know that, but
and
not-
this is like special ed too.
Yeah.
Is there a requirement or resources that we, because you could have a team of people doing this, but we don't have the resources right now. Because I felt I've had this discussion on regular education, and so I think you're just transitioning into special ed, and right now, how the requirements shake out in public schools is we are satisfying our requirement for both regular ed and special ed. And I think you're identifying there is a gap there, but then who does it? NWTC doesn't want to do it, but the public school doesn't want to do it. So who does that? So that's where, our fearless leaders haven't figured it out yet, so.
I do want to add though in that, to it, just make sure that it's very clear that within the IEP process, when students are ready to graduate, part of those transition goals are part of it. Like, what do you want to do next? We're taking you on tours. We're meeting the accommodations office. You want to go into the military? Okay, let's go check out, let's go meet with a couple of, we are helping bridge the gap to help them get to where they want to do. That still happens in high school, right? We still want to provide those, the families, and we partner with the families for that. How can we get the next step started when they are a graduate of Sevastopol, and what does that look like? Those conversations get real intentional end of 11th grade, because then we only have 1 year to help put a plan in place, was exactly what you're saying. Well, now what, right? To help them make the next step of what they want to do. But it is an imperfect process. I do hear what you're saying. It is an imperfect process. I wish we could do more. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very
Very good.
interesting. Really interesting. Informative, thank you. Mr. Hiltz.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things to highlight. The first one, on Monday, we had our third annual Fine Arts Night. It was an outstanding event, as it has been the last couple of years. Didn't think it was possible, but each year seems to get better than it was the year before. But a lot of credit goes to Karen Krieger for having the vision 3 years ago and put this together, and then for a number of other people for getting on board and really making the event that much bigger. So kudos to all of them. The other thing I'd like to draw attention to is the reading challenge. The students, I think as I mentioned, have been able to travel to New York, down to Orlando, and are passing Tallahassee at this point. Our hope is in the next week that they can make it to Texas. That would be 6 weeks of reading. As of right now, across the elementary, they have read about 80,000 minutes worth of books. So talked to some students today. They were excited by the reading challenge and kind of the attention that it's brought to being able to focus on doing some reading as a team and just the challenge itself. So.
There were a lot of art pieces. Someone told me there were over 1,500 pieces of art.
Sounds about right. She has, I think, about 5 per kid. So it's just outstanding.
That's a lot of display.
It is. She's already thinking about next year.
Mr. Schaefer.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to our Destination Imagination team, starting first of all with Jerry Borkvitz. I learned a lot about Jerry, but he's been servicing Sevastopol for over 35 years. We think it's close to 40. He was involved when it was called Odyssey of the Mind, before it was actually called Destination Imagination. So just a big shout out to Jerry, and then Annie Rabach. This is her 5th year, but those two spearheading the teams and recruiting coaches and staying on top of students and creating all these practice opportunities that the students work incredibly hard in preparation for this, and the coaches are, for not a lot of money, are really putting in a lot of effort and time to really help these students be incredibly successful. My third year here, this is the first time that I can recall, but all 5 of our teams qualified for globals. That's incredible. Our elementary engineering team not only won first place, but they won the Renaissance Award for just great ingenuity. Our elementary scientific team took second. Our middle level scientific team and middle level fine arts team took second place, where our middle level scientific team took first place and also won a Renaissance Award for exemplary teamwork. And then, of course, our high school engineering team took first place. Last year they lost at very close to an engineering school out of China to be repeat global champions. So very exciting for our students and our coaches, just very proud of this program. It's one of the most successful programs here at Sevastopol. Globals takes place May 22nd through the 25th in Kansas City. And then for all community members, when people would like to come out, the DI Showcase fundraiser is Sunday, May 8th. Doors open at 11 a.m. And performances start at 1 o'clock. 11 a.m. we have our pancake brunch. Also to add on to what Mr. Hiltz talked about with the fine arts, it was amazing, it's incredible, but I also want to give a shout out to our NHS crew that had a lot of fun. They made a lot of pancakes and we had served a lot of people. So really proud of our NHS and really proud of our Destination Imagination program and everybody who was involved with that.
Thank you.
How's that celebrated?
Superintendent.
How's that celebrated? I mean, if this was a basketball team, it'd be all whoop-de-doo.
We'll have a huge send-off for them, like we've done every single year before they head to global. So we have everybody in the hallway, the band is playing, we jack it, we'll get pretty excited. It'll be good, we'll celebrate.
We should invite him so he can see this, because he always thinks that doesn't happen.
Oh, they can get a chair, we can get a VIP Jerry chair.
Give me a Jerry chair. Thank you.
Okay, you can come ride with us, Jerry. We're driving down, so.
Yeah, you
There
should,
you go.
that's an idea. You
You guys
should
sound
go
real-
with the team.
Well, my husband is the
to
coach of
experience.
the 5th grade DI team. My daughter's on the DI team.
So do you guys got room for Jerry?
That would be an experience.
Suburban.
Little driving chair?
It's a long way.
Kansas City, I can take the best
Superintendent's report.
restaurant.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Tank. She wrote a very comprehensive proposal to WIA asking for our boys basketball team to move down a division so that we could be more competitive. We were approved for the 25-26 school year to move down a division. So we will hopefully be a little bit more competitive due to the class sizes that we have and the student population that we have. Second piece, been working with the sheriff around identifying Sevastopol School District with a hazardous route for transportation. This is due to us sitting on Highway 57. So with Highway 57, we do not have crosswalks, we do not have sidewalks for our students to walk across, which allows us then to put together a proposal that has to be approved by the superintendent of the state, and then we are able to collect additional funds for those students that sit inside of that 2-mile radius that we bus due to our hazardous route. So the sheriff and I met yesterday, she signed off on it, and we will get that to the state, so hopefully we'll be able to collect a few additional dollars for those students that we transport. Continuing to stay abreast of what's happening at the state and federal level, around requirements and funding. We're anticipating that the budget will not be a July budget. So the good news for us is that we're not significantly impacted by those dollars from the state level because most of our funds come from our local taxpayer. So we'll continue to be able to move forward with our budget as we have forecasted. And then the last piece I'm excited to share, as we've been talking, one of the pieces that we want to transition in our finance department is our accounts payable. Right now is very much a paper process.
Teachers fill out a requisition, it goes to their supervisor, it comes to me, the order goes back to them, they put the order in, and it's all paper with multiple steps. Skyward has the ability for us to make that electronic. There's some setup that has to happen on the front end, and Tasha and I are working with Skyward, and our goal is to have that set up for July 1. So it's some heavy lifting between now and then to be able to get there. The system needs to be set up with security groups so that it can all run effectively. So very excited about that. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you to Mr. Thank you, Ski. Can I just say that our last names are Ski? For your service as a board member. It has been a true honor to be able to work with you for this short period of time. So thank you.
This is Dave Katlinski's last meeting. Came on the board in 2016. I know he won't forget that year. And then some great things happened after that. He was here when we hired Kyle, who's a big part of the community facility study group. I'll never forget when the group got stuck on the survey results and said, well, I think you should go back for more information. And you gave them permission to move forward. You told them, what more information do we need? We studied this, this, and this, and that gave the committee the confidence to move forward and move forward with the vote then. And since then, we've been on several committees. I'm going to miss your analytical thinking. I don't know who's going to spar with. I don't know who's going to spar with Dick and Jerry now.
We don't spar.
I miss it.
It's just an
But my point is, there's always good conversation at this table because people are willing to do that.
All right.
So,
Intellectual discussion.
thank you. You will really miss. And we have a gift certificate for you, but as usual, I forgot it at home. So I'm sure you get it.
It's in the mail.
I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll move to committee reports then, and the finance committee we met on April 2nd. I think much of what we talked about we'll be discussing later tonight. Benefits and compensation. And last week, one day, you want to report on that?
Sure. So we met with staff looking for the parameters in which the board had set for us to move forward with salary and compensation. We are excited to be able to present the proposal to you tonight. It stays within the parameters, but actually enhances benefits for our employees. So looking at that, and we'll discuss that as we go into the action item.
Tasha and Randy had an excellent PowerPoint to review with the staff that I think answered a lot of their questions, unless they showed up in your office the next day.
No.
But thank you for that. It was a really good PowerPoint. And then Building and Grounds met last week, one day.
Yeah, we'll be pretty much discussing everything in new business that we discussed there.
Did you want to tell them about the pipe that fell down that Dan has to work on?
Well, there's a
Which
water
seems like
pipe.
a kind of a big deal to me.
There's a tunnel that serves-
Tunnel, yeah, big roads, yeah.
Yeah, a tunnel that serves the old school from the new school plumbing. And I don't know how it was attached, but the main water feed goes through that tunnel, and it slipped off of their support, and they're just hanging there. So I mean, it could have burst or anything like that.
That sucks.
So I mean, it's just
Has that been fixed already? I mean,
So,
they got some-
so on Friday, because of the weight of the pipes and that they're copper pipes, we want to be able to shut the water off. So Friday, when there's nobody in the building, because it's a holiday for everybody, They will be coming in and doing some of that work, and then the rest of the work will be finished later. They have already raised what
Some
they
temporary
can,
supports for it?
what they can raise without, impacting the water line. So kudos to the maintenance department, because every 5 years they go into the tunnel to clean it. If we didn't have that on a rotation with our buildings and grounds plan, this wouldn't have been identified, because there's nothing wrong except for the brackets. Basically, the brackets broke, didn't hold the water pipes, and so they're replacing the brackets and getting that lifted. So Friday will be a majority of the work, and then they'll come back and finish it.
And then the other items will be discussed tonight. Anything on the budget?
Nothing to note at this point. I think we've talked about quite a bit of things, and we'll be addressing some of the biggest pieces tonight, so.
I do want to highlight that the staff has really taken the words that we've talked about, is trying to be as conservative as possible with a budget that was approved with a significant deficit in the fall. Right now, we are coming under budget. So that means hopefully that deficit will be less than what we had forecasted. So I want to shout out to the staff for helping us with those efficiencies when those opportunities come up.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the staff for asking excellent questions, staying on target, staying on task, and really hitting deadlines. It's been fantastic. Very good response this year.
Thank you. Anything to report for facilities? No? We don't have any old business. Dan, anything timely we need to report legislatively, Sue?
Yes, at our WASB Board of Directors meeting last Friday night, we met with Senator Diane Hasselbein from the Middleton Cross Plains area. She talked a lot about the 60% special ed funding and was herself supportive of it. She seemed to feel that there's some conversation taking place between Democrats and Republicans around that topic, as well as others. She was also supportive of the free lunch for all students because of the effect that nutrition has on children's ability to learn. She was also supportive of funding for mental health care. She talked also about the budget in June 30 and is not feeling that we're going to have a budget by June 30, and that seems to be what the sentiment is around. She also talked about the Act 20 money that the legislature has not released, and there's no reason they haven't released that money, but she did not seem very optimistic about it being released. Now, this is her opinion, that's one person, but she's very supportive of it, but didn't feel that there was much push in the legislature to release that money.
What's in the Act 20 money? Just refresh me, what's in
For Act 20.
So it's dollars to support with the requirements that as a district, we had to purchase a curriculum that was approved by the state. So there was a list of curriculums, and Sevastopol actually aligned really well. So we were in the process of curriculum review with reading. So part of that would be for those funds. The other component is for the assessment requirement. So there was assessments that had to go into place. So looking to be able to get reimbursement for the assessment, we purchased Amesweb and transitioned, but that doesn't count because that's secondary, transitioned to the STAR assessments, but we won't be able to recap dollars. But it'd be nice to get some dollars for our curriculum purchase and nice to get dollars for the assessment. But DPI has set the system up, so they're ready if those dollars would ever get released, because ideally they would have to be distributed by June 30th. So Tasha and I are staying attuned to what's happening at the state level so that we can submit that and hopefully recoup if it actually opens.
And the ironic part is this is what the legislature put in place, but now they don't want to release the money.
So how much so we had to buy curriculum for how much money?
About 110 or 20,000 over.
Our reading scores are the ones the best in the state, and we had to spend that money on curriculum
You're talking about
materials.
our previous
for
reading
Act 20.
program, and then satisfied?
We were in the.
In fairness, we were in the process of
Right.
the rotation, so it was the year that we were going to have to do the curriculum anyway for reading. So the timing worked out perfect, but still, it would have been nice to have given some money.
The money is nice, but we're not out any other money. This is all within our budget. And I'm just curious if our previous reading program was qualified under the requirements because of what you just said. We had very good reading scores. Do we know that?
It was.
Just for the record, it's just kind of a little personal talking point that our previous program was probably, if it is.
Technically, it wasn't approved by the state because it was an older version.
Oh, yeah.
We use the same curriculum now, we just have the updated version, and that was approved.
So the state doesn't care about the results. Right? Don't bother us with the fact of the results.
Well, for the good thing for Sevastopol is Act 20 didn't change our reading program at all.
No.
And good for our kids, that this school and his staff have been doing the right thing. And now there's a little checkbox that says we're certified. So let's be perspective about it, be realistic about it. That was good. And more money would be awesome for the school. Let's get that.
The only other thing I had to report was there will be a slight increase in dues for WASB membership next year, but only 3% increase. So trying to keep it as low as possible. And then I also wanted to mention that at the summer workshop in Stevens Point in July, Dr. Charles Franklin from UW-Marquette, or from Marquette University, will be the dinner speaker. And he does a lot of research on how the public feels about schools and...
Polls.
Yes, lots of polling there. So, and the July magazine of, if I can borrow this a second, of the school news, which, by the way, this one had a nice feature on Project 180. Steve Bosley on the cover from Southern Door, but lots of mention of Sevastopol in there. But this magazine in July will focus on strategic planning, which is an area that we are looking to move to too. So that will be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have this HVAC bid. So you have HMI, AES bids.
So you have two bids in your packet. One is from Perkman and one is from AES, and seeking board approval for one of the bids. Buildings and Grounds Committee had the conversation and would like to move forward with Perkman. And Perkman is who we currently have at this time with the majority of our agents.
Building and Grounds discussed this, and this is who Dan is bringing up.
Move to approve the bid of $290,983 from Hertman Mechanical for the HVAC upgrade system.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Yeah, next we got items C and D. I would like to make a motion to combine items C and D for the purposes of discussion, but to vote on each of those items separately.
The acoustics.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. You were going to speak a couple of minutes on this before we open it to more discussion?
Yeah, I will. I guess I'm going to go back in time a little bit for you. So I've been in this role now in 5 years, and so when I think it was the year before I came into this role, the high school gym saw some updates. The floor was kind of redone. We put in new bleachers in there. It had been old wooden bleachers, and now it moves to plastic/aluminum type bleachers. Michigan Tech had come in and done a very minimal sound study of some sort, and they installed these really tiny, you'll see them in our gym, they look decorative, they're red, they're sound panels. We're supposed to absorb sound, so they installed those,
And then hanging in our ceiling used to be what I'm going to call mattress pads, because that's what they look like. There was these mattress pads hanging all over our ceiling. So, some teams in particular didn't like those up there because balls would hit them, right, come and play. It's a very legit concern, right, that it's up there. So those came down, acoustic panels went on the side. That was kind of supposed to solve some of that. It didn't. So fast forward, I don't know, probably about 3 years ago, we said the sound in our gym is terrible. We had more and more complaints when we had events. That just the sound quality, you just can't hear anything coming out of the system. So we looked into it. What we found at that time basically was we had what are called pendant speakers hanging in the gym. Some of the pendants were shut off. The pendants were shut off on purpose because basically the intelligibility of the sound in the gym was so bad at that time. They said, let's just kill some of these speakers. Maybe that will help things. That didn't help things. So we turned them back on, and the problem got worse, I guess. Worse and better. You could hear more, but it still wasn't clear, if that makes any sense. So again, problems continued to happen, and then we had brought in a couple different companies to come in, look at our gym and say, is it the sound system? Is it the acoustics? What's going on? All of those companies that came in basically told us, you can do everything you want to a sound system. You can get a brand new system. That's not going to fix what's happening in your gym. The problem is the acoustics that's in your gym because you have cement walls, you have the cement ceiling. So all that's occurring in your gym is sound is bouncing all over, up and down. It's bouncing side to side, and it's bouncing on all of these walls. And they said, and those sound panels that you have up there, those are way too thin. They're doing nothing for you. They're just decorative. They're not thick enough. They needed to be thicker. So at that time, the committee kind of got together, reviewed proposals, and the school had decided to go with what was called DHS Sound. The school paid DHS Sound money to come in, basically do an acoustic study to go, where does Sevastopol need to go? That gentleman was not good to work with for the district, and eventually the district moved on from him. And so we were still left with the same problem. So the problem has grown. We've gotten more complaints, especially competition always, but we're getting more of it now. Classroom teachers, other coaches that are in the gym, how hard it is to hear in our gym. So the problem in our gym is reverberation, which is the echo. So if I am just a classroom teacher, I'm teaching Fayed, okay, Miss DeYoung, she can't talk to you over there because there's so much vibration going on in her gym. You have to be right here. If I'm a coach just coaching practice, it's really hard to instruct. You have to, yelling louder doesn't mean it's more clear. So it's really hard when we're just right here. If you're in the gym and you're trying to announce on the PA system, nobody can hear you. Okay, and it's not necessarily the speakers itself. Again, it's all the reverberation that's happening. So this is what everyone has said when they come in our gym, and they tell us this. So they basically said what you really need to do is address acoustics and then sound system. And so that's kind of where we were back, and we brought different companies to come and give proposals again. And so, again, two problems that occur in our gym. One, the largest, is the acoustics. This is the root cause of all of our issues. So standard reverberation time in a gym should be under 2 seconds, ideally 1. We got reverberation readings of 6 seconds. So that's not even with a full of kids, right? So you clap, how long is that bouncing around till nothing's happening? So that happens. Then of course the sound system. So the issue with our sound system, there's multiple. The speakers are too small for our gym. They are small pendant speakers. They're not pointed correctly whenever they were installed, the direction of the sound. There's not enough coverage for our gym, so basically there's essentially dead spots also, basically in the middle of the court is dead spots for us. And then there's just really poor functionality. So I can speak for myself as an event supervisor. The system is way over on the wall, where in most gymnasiums, it's at your scores table. They're playing the music, they're moving stuff, so it's really inconvenient to be way over in that corner. So we would be looking for something different. So
For us, the needs in our gym, really, number one by far is fixing the echo problem. Number two, Phi Ed teachers need to be able to talk to their students and coaches and be heard in there. We avoid trying to have assemblies in there just because it's so loud. You can't be heard, so this is a much better place for us to have those things. Of course, we want our fans and athletes to be able to hear music on game days, hear our PA announcer, and have reliable functional equipment. We had the sound system, part of the sound system blew on the first day of school this year, so we were without our sound system, and Stephen was awesome getting us equipment up there, but again, complaints. So when you look at some of the things you had in your packet, I wanted to answer a couple of questions that I've gotten because I couldn't come to the building and grounds meeting last week. We had a company called Fratnell, and that was basically through Bay Electronic. They wanted to look into this spray foam that's called Sauna Spray and see if that would be something that made more sense for our gym to put in there. And there's two kinds of sprays, so it looks like kind of this material. I can pass it around. This is called the FC. There's a K13 and an FC. So K13 is basically, they recommend using this one when wherever you're spraying it is 15 feet or higher. Basically, nobody's going to look at it, right? The aesthetics, it doesn't matter. And the material is, more coarse. The FC is basically when you're installing something 15 feet or lower, because we're going to all look at it and touch it, so it needs to look prettier. And so it looks prettier, and it's more fine, so it cannot go on as heavy. So this would not be what Sevastopol needs. We don't need the pretty, it's going up high kind of thing. In sound quality, actually the K13, because it's thicker material, it actually has an insulation factor to it when you put it up in the ceiling for us, and so it actually is more absorptive of the sounds. So one of the questions that I know that I received was in Fentanyl's proposals that they gave, they talk about the reverberation, and it was 2 seconds, 2.75 seconds, and they say after treatment what's going to happen with the acoustics and how it's going to go down. So when they do this is a very generic thumbnail, something they're putting in their computer, which isn't necessarily according.
But it says they didn't test. How do they know it's 275? Because it says they didn't test.
I know, I'm explaining that to you right now.
Okay.
So
it got it on the computer.
So they take the measurements of your gym, okay, just flat. So height, length, width, they're taking that, and then they can kind of say what kind of material is in your
model
gym.
concrete surfaces, because
Yeah.
concrete surfaces, there's things in the models that you can model.
Yeah, and so it gives just a very, very basic calculation for them. So that's where those numbers come from. And so the most important piece in there, though, is when it talks about the percent loudness reduction, right? And so you say 28, you see 28%, and you might say to yourself, 28% is really not a lot. Well, 28% is basically a third. So if you're reducing that sound, the reverberation by a third, they would tell you that that is considerable. And again, this isn't accounting for in our gym. We will get extra square footage because there's like 10 beams that go down the middle of our gym. So that's more square footage that's being sprayed with the sound treatment, which now it's absorbing more. They can't account for that in this model that they're giving to us. So essentially what they're going to tell you is that sound reduction is actually going to increase from 28, and it's going to be very noticeable.
So they're spraying the beams too, not just the flat part?
Correct. Yeah, it's going to go down to about the height of where the beams currently are in our gym. So I think that was 3 bricks is what it was, essentially. Nothing else gets sprayed. So a much more absorptive material than what CCP was recommending. They're basically recommending absorptive panels in our entire gym, much larger, to actually absorb things. So that's more work in our maintenance because they'll have to take down all the banners, they'll have to put them all up. I think it'll look very funky, and we don't really know if we really need all of that, right? It seems kind of excessive. That material will be impacted by tariffs. The company did tell me today, so potentially 4%.
K-13 stuff?
Nope, not the K-13, that's United States, but the stuff from CCP, the acoustic panels, where they quoted us at 69, basically 69,000. They said anticipate that price to go up, because that is impacted by tariffs. The fentanyl stuff is not impacted by it. So, that's my gist on that. The last thing that I would really say is, I've learned a lot about acoustics, and I'm going to tell you, I still don't know a lot about it, okay, but it's a lot of numbers. And one thing that Bay Electronics gave us was a couple of numbers that I thought were really important that I think speak to the acoustics piece. One, they said it's the DR ratio, which is the balance from the speakers and like the reflection, everything bouncing off your walls. So when this number should be at +6, our gym shows a huge amount of noise when they did this. So ours was -15.7 with acoustical treatment. It still doesn't get us there, but it really improves it to -1.7. So I think really that paints the picture of just how terrible the reverberation currently is. Again, the sound system doesn't fix the reverberation. And then the second piece was the STI, which is the speech transmission index. I know this is a lot of stuff, but this is how clearly speech can be understood. So let's just throw athletics out and let's talk about education and instruction in a gym, right, which is the most important thing. So this is how clearly your speech can be understood in the room. Ideally, this number should be 0.45 or higher. Our current number is 0.13, which is vastly far away from that, actually. So with acoustical treatment, they say this number will go to 0.54 or 0.58. So yeah, it's expected.
So you talked, I mean, you were there with the Bay Electronics people.
Yep.
Okay. And what did you come away with from them? As we have two separate issues: the sound system plus the. What did you come away from? What was their opinion as to which would be the best as far as effectiveness?
Yeah, so they definitely think the spray
Spray.
is what's going to be most effective, just because there's more of an absorptive quality to it.
More than the sound system.
Huh?
Yeah.
More than
Yeah.
the sound system.
Sound system is just going to add more echoing.
Okay.
You know, kind of like, I guess, your car, right? Or your, you know, you got a problem and it's really your engine, but you're fixing something else, right?
Well,
It's a secondary thing and you're not getting to the root.
I want to just support your history. We have looked at this a lot.
Yeah. It's been a lot of money.
Without a doubt, the problem is the acoustics. That's the problem. And so a long time ago, before my time even, we went to Camera Corner and bought this new sound system. That's what the school board did prior to me. It didn't help. It didn't help at all. So please let's not repeat that and do the same thing. And I would point out when we hired that other guy that unfortunately didn't pan out, the school board at the time, we approved with an intention of fixing the acoustics. This school board went through this, all the discussion, we approved the money to go hire a guy out of Milwaukee with an intention, and we were going to implement his recommended plan to help the acoustics. He fell through, he didn't do any work, he stopped showing up, so that sucked, right? So my only point is, just echoing what, this has been looked at a lot, and if you've been in our gym ever, it is a concrete box. And you can model concrete walls, and they echo. We all have one in your basement, right? So some of this stuff we can kind of commonly understand just from walking around in your life. So I highly recommend, if anything is done, the acoustics need to be the highest priority. And if we can't do both, the acoustics need to be done. But at one point, this budget line was talked about. So I'm recommending you do the acoustics, number one, and then once that's complete, probably do the sound system because the other one's not working and not the right design. So let's not be the group who selects a bad sound system again.
My question remains this, because I don't understand it, I'm sorry. One company measured and they said that was 6%. Was that Bay Electronics?
6 seconds was the reverberation.
6
seconds, like how long you echo.
Yep. So the company with the spray says, oh, it's 2.75. That's a big difference.
They didn't measure anything.
Okay, but so if
My-
we're paying them
I guess my question would be,
$70,000,
Why can't they put the 6 into their
if we're paying them
formula?
the
to see how
$70,000, why
far-
didn't they measure, why
to
didn't
see
they
what
measure
it
and
comes
not
out.
just do the computer model? Which one, so do we know which one is correct?
What is that computer model gonna?
Yeah, I don't think you ever know until you
Not a
actually do
problem
it,
right
right?
now.
I think the problem's the same as it's been for 60 years,
And maybe worse with the new bleachers.
maybe a little worse.
But 60 years ago, what's effective for a, if you.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, why didn't the company that wants $70,000 measure like the electronics did, which isn't even the company doing the spray, they're proposing in a sound system. Why are they just giving us a model when,
Well,
and those
so
two
it's-
numbers are so different, 6%, 2.75% are way different.
Well, but they're explained. So if we want them to model our room, that can be a question.
Right, to
Possibly.
me, if
That's
it's
just, this is, here's what I'll tell you from modeling it for 30 years of modeling. All models are wrong, but models help make decisions. That's it. So we can change numbers, it'll still be somewhat wrong, but the fact is, it's going to improve the acoustics in this gym, which everyone agrees the acoustics in this gym are not good. My smartwatch goes off every time I'm at an event that it's too loud for the average person, every time. I mean, so there's real data. I mean, so if you want to remodel some stuff, but we've had the Michigan Tech guy, I mean, we've had so many people come in here, people. And this is, remember the discussion you just brought up about the CFAC? I'm trying to do that here. We don't need more data. We can waste more time, and we're not going to find out anything new. Let's make a reasonable investment in a building we're going to be using for many, many, many years to come.
I agree with you. So I'm sorry. The other thing is $70,000 for just a 28% improvement.
But I don't
They
think-
say, oh, that's going to be a lot more than 28%. but
DB ratings
that's
are not linear. I mean,
That's
DB
not
ratings.
a very big improvement for that investment.
Ask the sound.
So the sound people will tell you that
That's
is,
huge.
it's a third.
Yeah, that's a lot. In acoustics, that's a big deal. Don't think about it as a bucket of water and taking 28% and it's still got all this water left in the bucket. Acoustics is a whole different world. If you made the sound in here half, like say 50%, we'd probably have a hard time talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, think about your TV, right? If your TV's on volume 66 or 99 versus 66 versus 33, I mean, you're noticing a huge reduction.
I think one thing, I think that's where you're going down the right way to do it. And I hate to say this, the real solution is down the road, brand new gym, but I never thought I'd say that.
That's 20 years, Jerry.
I don't think you have to look 20 years.
Even 10, but still, we're using this every day.
I understand.
10 years.
Don't, let me finish. Okay?
Sorry, it's 15 million, 70,000.
Okay, but you know, you go around to all these, my eyes are open when the girls' basketball team was going around playing all here and there. Every place they played was, wow, isn't this nice? It's not like the dump they're playing in back home, you know? So, and that's a hard decision, it's got to be made by this board. I won't be on it, I'll probably maybe vote on so what. But it's a very hard decision, but it's a decision that's got to be made, okay? That is old. I had this editorial. My high school class in 1965, okay? My high school team played in a gym that was designed in 55. Vastly superior to this, okay? And that's a long time ago. So the only thing I suggest is before you finally make a decision, okay? When you're into areas which you really don't know anything about, I don't know anything about this, and this is a whole different world than any of us are experts in. Say, okay, can you give me some examples of what you did something very similar to this, and contact those places and say, did it work?
Yep, so we did that. They
Okay.
provided a list.
Okay.
And then there were 2 schools in our area, actually 3. There's Suring, Denmark, and Luxembourg-Casco. I reached out to all 3 of those districts. I heard back from Suring. They have an older gym like us. They had this done. They were very pleased with what had happened. The only thing that they mentioned was sometimes a ball's going to hit it.
Well,
Little white particles, maybe you're going to have
Okay.
that, right? But
So
So like a
Nothing's
popcorn
perfect,
ceiling
right?
kind of?
Huh?
Like back in the day when you had a popcorn ceiling in your basement and you hit it, I don't know, I'm kind of old, I don't know if
No,
anyone
yeah,
has
We just had rafters, but,
whatever.
okay. So you're satisfied with it?
I guess if we were gonna do something, it makes sense to first do the acoustics and see what that does
Before
for
you do.
us.
I agree.
I'm still not totally sold on that, but it would seem like we should see what that would do before we invest also in the sound.
Well, I think it's pretty self, it's acoustics first, because no sense building a whole bunch of money and putting it into an acoustic system, acoustical area that's crappy. You know, it's like putting a brand new big screen TV in your little 14 by 4 foot closet to watch TV, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna fix everything, but
No.
it's kind of where
It'll
you,
be an
they
improvement.
tell us we have to start.
It's an improvement.
It should be,
Don't say should, it will.
it will be.
So in the bid here, they have independent testing, $1,000. So are they saying they'll do independent testing for $1,000 before they do the bid?
They can, if we want them to, probably.
Do we repeat that?
He
Yeah, talk
said,
about the independent testing on a.
yeah.
So they will charge an extra $1,000 to come out and do acoustic testing to determine the seriousness of the reverberation. And I don't know if they would change their price quotes or.
Well, see, that's why didn't they, how could, why wouldn't
So
they have
basically,
that?
it's a
So they know
salesman,
they're
right, it's the
gonna
owner
be-
of the company that shows up, he looks at your gym, he gets the measurements and numbers, right? He sends this back to, I forget the name of it, but it's a different company. Okay, here's your number based on
All right.
what we
Yeah.
found. So an actual, somebody didn't come from their company to do
Yeah, I
acoustics,
would
they were
guess
trying to
it's a
give us a
before and
general.
after.
Yep.
It's a before and after for their company to
Oh, it's a
have.
before and.
That would be my guess
Yeah.
on
I-
why it's independent testing in here.
So they might claim some liability if the before and after are the same.
Not so effective, I don't know.
Next
So
up.
what the gentleman will tell, what he said, in all his years of doing this, he's had one, right, of course, he's part salesman, but he's only had one place that is not satisfied with this. So they do pools, they do libraries, they do gyms, they do stadiums, they've done everything for the Green Bay Packers. They do offices, they did Topgolf. I mean,
That's it.
they've done a lot of things. This isn't a new product that's not been tested, and it's
I don't
kind of
think
a
we
gamble.
should use, it is, it's acoustics, I know we aren't experts. People have been managing and handling acoustics for a long time. And if you put more material, put a curtain up on your house, it's gonna stop the sound reverberation. It's a known fact, right? Buy a brand new house, it's empty, you walk in, it echoes. You hang all your pictures, you put a carpet on it for a house, it changes. And so I think what, my points here are, I believe this group, majority of this group in some way have already agreed and know that the gym needs something done. And to the point where we've had it budgeted in our budget line, in the school's budget. So I mean, this isn't some brand new hoo-ha thing, right? There's been years of research, and I think it's time to move forward. Let's do the acoustics. We gotta hold off on the clear what he's done and do it after.
The work is so that there's only, that doesn't do it right, the
Tasha.
worst.
I
the
was
worst would be
just-
out. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was wondering how long the product lasts, what's the lifespan on the product? And then the other thing I was wondering is, how does it handle humidity? Because we know our gym does not have AC. It gets very hot and sticky in there in August, September. So just how does it, obviously they've done it in pools, so it handles humidity
so it-
somewhere.
Yeah,
So
they've said that
just-
it handles that. As far as the longevity of it, basically this should last us for the life of this gym. It's not something that we gotta go back and we have to respray it all. Cleaning it, they recommend basically people take a leaf blower. That's basically how you gotta clean it up, which is kind of how we clean some of our duct systems now, because you're not gonna go up there and start scratching and scrubbing on it. So that's a little bit different.
So the HVAC bid sets us up for air conditioning in the gym, but it doesn't provide it.
Right,
Correct. So we can add that later.
yes.
Luckily, we have a 10-year plan.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's in that 10-year plan, just a couple years down the road.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I would only add, if you're making a decision on this today and you were deciding on the spray, the K13 is essentially what they're recommending to us, and then there's different thicknesses. So they have the 1 inch, which was 72.2, and they have the 1.5. Their recommendation would be the 1.5 because that takes the reverberation down under 1 second. So you can see that if you have, it takes it to 0.91, right? I know it's computer model. It's a thumbnail. So yeah, it's an extra $10,000 though, but.
What? I don't know if we have, the proposal price I'm looking at was 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch.
That's the
That's the FC, that's the,
sonophone.
This is the French bill.
You have to go to the next group.
Yeah.
You're on the sonophone.
So
It's a
you
key
want to
spray.
look at the
That's a sound spray.
ICC,
Yeah.
right?
You have to go farther down.
Or front?
we're talking about the K13.
Oh, yeah,
K13.
page.
Oh, way down there. So, okay, thank you.
This does cause our gym to be down, for a while, so it's not something that we can just do whenever. Really, we try to do it when the gym is least active. So the goal would be to start this project August 1 to try and have it done for the start of the high school fall seasons, right? So they tell us this needs probably plan for 3 weeks because much of this project is basically taking everything off. Spray is very fast itself. You could use it day of.
What's on the agenda?
Okay, so we were going to take these separately.
Acoustic is first.
Just,
I would add, I guess, on the sound system piece itself too, Bay Electronic has they're continuing to find ways to bring that cost down. They were just one of our last ones and we had to get you the information for your board packet. So they still believe that they can find ways to reduce that. There's also some people that are on staff that are alumni of this that are willing to come out and do some of the labor just for free so they can help reduce that cost that are invested in this.
okay, thank you.
system itself.
So, is there a motion on the acoustic gym bids? And no motion will mean no action.
Move to approve the K13 acoustical treatment at the 1.5 inch coating.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm going to move that we table the sound system bid until after installation of the acoustic material and see the result it has.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, CISA 7 School Board District Representative to School Board Convention. Sue, I presume you want to do that again? Would someone like to make a motion to approve Sue as the CISA 7 rep?
I'll make a motion to approve CISA.
Make the motion to approve Sue.
As a CISA 7
Make
rep.
Sue CISA 7.
On the seashore.
Second.
Do you have all that mess, Kylie?
Yeah, I have it.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We have the Johnson Control Service Contract.
So Sevastopol has had an annual contract with Johnson's Control to come in and ensure that inspect our systems and fix or troubleshoot anything that's identified at that time. We have historically used the dates. This is something that we will continue to monitor, but I would ask for approval for this next year for that contract.
I move. There's nobody else in the business.
There is.
I don't.
Has there been some discussion in this pack? I agree with you, by the way. Is there some improved request to coordinate with our new building versus the old building? Is it bold? Because the Johnson Controls typically been an old building. And Dan made a comment that Johnson Controls could help with the new building, we just didn't put them in the contract. So do we put that in the contract?
We could possibly amend the contract, we'd have to have that conversation. My recommendation, what I'd like to do is propose it as it has been,
Okay.
and have asked Dan to
So we can amend it
continue to
later,
work with the two systems to see how we can create efficiencies, because the systems don't talk well to each other. It's our biggest issue.
I'm okay with approving this now, but it really makes a lot of sense, and we talked about it at the building and grounds, and Dan's like, well, they would do it, but we don't, I don't know why we didn't roll that in here, but that's fine, I understand it's baby steps, and we have to do this anyways, but
It's a 1 year.
we need a technical expert that bridges, to ask Dan to be the expert to bridge two HVAC systems,
That should have been discussed way back when they designed the building.
I'm sure it was.
But I don't know, I doubt it.
Was there a motion on that? No?
I moved to go with the Johnson Control.
It's a 1 year.
Yeah, it's just 1 year.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
So we don't lose it, and I'm still on table with this item. And I would move to do what you just suggested, to bring those two together. Or do what it, so that just one company doing the whole system. Then you don't get in, if something goes wrong, it's their fault. The buck stops with, if it's
Do
Johnson.
you want a motion
I
for
don't know.
that, or you're
Motion
thinking?
for that.
No, that, well,
This has come up in the
Let's see if it's
ground,
viable.
building and grounds meeting in the past, I missed the last meeting, sorry. So Dan's kind of working it, I just kind of encouraging Randy to help Dan.
Yeah, I'd really just so we don't lose it.
Yeah, well,
It's-
so Buildings and Grounds Committee will continue to have those conversations, but we don't need a motion. We will recognize that and place it on the Buildings and Grounds Committee agenda to continue those conversations, to talk about what those next steps will be.
So there is a motion, if there's no second, the motion will just die.
Dave seconded.
Oh, you did second it.
oh wait, there was two.
Oh, Jerry's. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would second it, because I kind of agree, but I'm okay with what Randy said. I think either way it'll be addressed. What you're saying is valid, and it will be
But
addressed.
it carries more weight to buildings and grounds, and we want a solution to this as opposed to just continue to study and study and study.
So the motion is to get feedback from Building and Grounds on how this will be addressed?
Begin taking action, make a proposal to do it all under one.
There was discussion to have new eyes look at this, and there are companies out there that would qualify as new eyes to look at the.
I would second that, because I think what he asked for is a plan.
Right.
Not a direction, but it's, so we're just.
What do you have as the motion, Kaylee?
Well, right now, the motion stands that Jerry had said to approve Johnson Control Service contract, and Dave had seconded that. So that's the only motion I have.
Oh, we haven't voted on that one.
No one voted on that one, no.
So we're gonna vote on approving Johnson Controls, the Johnson Controls service contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
So my motion would be to direct our Buildings and Ground Committee to come back within 6 months or something with a proposal of bringing the whole, what do you call all this stuff? Controls.
HVAC control.
Huh?
HVAC control.
HVAC controls under one system.
I would recommend
Yeah,
under one technical support.
One technical support, thank you.
I would second that.
Kaylee, when you have it, read the motion there, please.
Okay, I have to direct Buildings and Grounds to bring proposal for HVAC controls under one technical support
Questions or discussion?
contract.
Question, no questions or discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
We're helping.
Then we have a snow day to dispose of.
Thank you. So, being extremely optimistic with our spring weather, I would ask that the board would amend the current contract. We had 4 snow days built into the calendar, we've only used 3. I'm very optimistic that we won't have to use another one between now and the end of the school year. So our current end of the school year is June 6th for staff, June 5th for students, adjusting at June 5th for staff, June 4th for students, and then we can get that message out.
That will guarantee it's.
Is there a motion to approve?
I would move to approve the snow day allocation plan as presented.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Don't we have
Service contract.
medical services contract?
Yeah, DCMC got
Oh,
skipped.
I skipped Door County Memorial Services contract.
That's okay. we can do it.
So, last year, the district renewed its agreement with Door County Medical Center. In that renewal, there was the ability for Door County Medical to increase the rates for the services that we contract, nursing and physical therapy, at 3%. And so that's basically the contract that you have in front of you is with their increased costs, they're asking us to shoulder that increased cost for those services. I would seek approval for that because
I make a motion to approve the contract with the DCMC service contract as presented.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have compensation for certified and support staff.
So, per the board directive and the finance committee of the whole, staying within the 2.9%, what we have proposed is that all staff, both support staff, certified staff, and administration would receive a 2% increase on their salary. Along with that, we were able to work with our health insurance and be able to offer an additional option for staff to buy down on a plan. That buy down plan is a lower premium, which is a cost savings to the district, which allows us in turn to offer an HSA to staff members that purchase that, or that would go with that buy down plan of $3,000 and $6,000. Per the committee meeting that we had with our staff around this plan, it was also recommended for the employees, we have about 18 that currently don't take our health insurance, and that we would offer a $500 for them and strongly encourage, but we can't require for it to go into a 403B for them. The same thing with the HSA. As a district, we can't require them to take those funds and put it into an HSA, but again, financially, because it's a tax-deferred dollar amount, that would be our recommendation. And so if the board approves this plan, we're going to roll it out on April 30th to staff, and then on May 5th, we have our insurance providers coming in to ask the specific questions. Along with these two pieces, we are looking at some additional options for staff to purchase. Short-term disability. So if a staff member has, a tragedy, if a staff member is pregnant, really those are the two pieces.
Illness.
But it fills the gap between our current long-term disability, but that would be employee costs, not employer costs. The same thing is we're looking to offer additional life insurance to our staff. That would be employee costs. We need 20 people to be able to offer some of these packages, and then the last one is pet insurance. So adding additional benefits to our comprehensive package for our staff. So summarize 2% for all employees with the HSA benefit on the $3,000, $6,000 deductible, and $500 for those that opt out of the district insurance.
So, go ahead, Dick.
Okay, so the option of it's an option that the employee has to exercise to accept the HSA payment. What if they don't want, what?
So the payment, the benefit is provided to them.
Right.
And the payment is still made to them.
Right.
If they don't want it in a pre-tax account, then they will be responsible for the taxes on that.
Oh, okay.
Clearly, the financial advice we should give them is the smart thing is to put it in HSA.
Right.
But they
HSA or 403B is the recommended.
Well, they get the payment regardless, but they're liable for the tax. Okay.
Payroll tax.
So there's the buy down. But but everybody gets the 1,100 or the 2,200.
No.
You have to take the buy down to get the.
Yep, that's the incentive.
Because it reduces the premium to the
Yep.
district, that's the incentive.
Got it. And then those that do not take our health insurance, have it through somebody else, they get the $500.
The 500, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so if an employee comes in, a new employee comes and chooses, elects not to take the health insurance, and then 4 years later decides, I'm going to take the health insurance, are they allowed to?
They have a life-changing event.
If they have a qualified life event or an open enrollment.
Open enrollment,
Every year you have a choice.
Every year they have a choice, that's why it says annual.
open enrollment, or you can't just come on anytime, open enrollment.
And open enrollment,
Yeah.
right.
Only.
So every year they can have a choice if they choose to.
Oh, you have open enrollment every year?
Yes.
Oh, that's rather generous.
Jerry did it at the hospital too, it's called open enrollment, it happens every year.
Oh, we did.
Must-
You weren't there.
Is there,
It's okay, move on.
are there other questions on this, on the compensation?
Right.
Or is there a motion?
Okay, we were given a lot of information here on the compensation model. I just have, for instance, support staff. Okay, so we have step 1, step 2, and step 3. What do the steps represent?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't include that, that is in our employee handbook. But step 1 is the first 6 months. Step 2 is their 6 to 18 months of actual work. So it can be 2 years if you're not a full-year employee, right?
That follows the employee handbook.
Yes, it follows the
Okay.
employee handbook.
In teachers' compensation, we have base, mid, and high. Is that going to take the place of our ladder system right now?
No, I just chose, rather than showing you the entire ladder,
Oh.
I just pulled up the mid-range, the base salary, and the highest. Is the compensation salary scheduled the plan to review that? Yes. The plan is to continue to look at that in the coming year, but it was just a little too much to tackle.
Right, but theoretically, this could replace the ladder system.
Yes, you're correct. And this year, we won't move people off the ladder. What we'll do is put 2% on the ladder. So every step will go up that 2%. So if you were on a step 0.5 this year, you're going to stay on a step 0.5, but your salary will increase 2%. Yeah.
Okay.
So to answer your question, yes, our goal is to review that. But I could only
That's right.
I
Thank
would
you very
move to
much.
approve the compensation proposal for 2025-2026 as presented.
A second.
Further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And then we have the 25-26 employee handbook benefits.
We already just addressed that inside of the compensation. I will be bringing you back the legal language that was recommended to us for a full employee benefit approval in June. But that's not, the salary is the component that we need to address with the contracts.
Randy, you did have some language in here.
Correct, but that's, we need to continue to tweak and make sure we have it accurate. Yeah.
That concludes our regular business, so I can take a motion to convene to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Mr. Ward?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried at 7:48 p.m.
I'll make a motion
Okay, first motion.
to approve Luke Pierre as a mechanic/bus driver.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then assistant coach.
Move to approve the hiring of Drew Tank as varsity baseball assistant coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Policy committee meets April 28th. Jerry?
Yeah, I got it on my calendar.
We have the AI presentation on April 30th, which will be real interesting. And again, we'll be meeting at 4:45 for,
What time is the AI presentation?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Yep. And then our regular board meeting is the 21st of May. And next week is the National Honor Society. Not sure if anybody's going to that.
Lunch is next week.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.